Hi everyone, welcome to this University of Bristol webinar in partnership with I'm really excited to be here today to introduce you to some really useful information about the University of Bristol and also about our University of Bristol Law School. We have one of our key academics with us here today to talk specifically about studying law at the University of Bristol and also what that student life is like. So it's really great to have that detailed experience from him. So my name is Jessica. I'm an international recruitment officer working at the University of Bristol representing Turkey. So I will just introduce you to my two other colleagues as well who are here today with us. So Jacopo, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I hope you can hear me now. My name is Jacopo Martire and I'm senior lecturer at the University of Bristol School of Law, and I teach both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. At undergraduate level, I teach European Union law and jurisprudence, and at postgraduate level, I'm the unit coordinator for social and legal theory. And I've been in the UK for 14 years and at Bristol for the last 2 years.
Great, thank you. And then we've also got my colleague from the international office, Sarah, who's going to introduce herself now.
Hello everyone, like Jess said, my name is Sarah. I work with Jess in the international office as a market manager for Turkey. During the presentation, I'll be busy answering all your questions in the question tab on the screen, but I might keep some of them for the end for Jess and Jacopo to answer them live. But yeah, do get answering your questions. I'm here to answer them.
Okay, so I'm just going to start off my presentation today. For those of you who may have already applied or who are wondering how the University of Bristol is dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, I'd just like to answer a few questions. So throughout the pandemic, you can find all of our frequently asked questions on our website. So you can just type in Google Bristol University and go onto our homepage, and it's right there on our homepage. Otherwise, you can follow the link on the presentation that's on the screen now. This will answer all of your top questions, such as what we're doing to accept transcripts, which exams boards we're accepting, whether we're planning on opening in September, for example. All of the information in this presentation is spoken with University of Bristol plans to reopen in September as normal. Okay, if any further information for applicants or offer holders is necessary, this will be communicated to you via email, and it will also be made obvious on our website. Okay, so we are being really flexible at the moment, so we're accepting transcripts provided by schools and counsellors, even if, for example, how in Turkey, the Ministry of National Education is starting to just accept the first term. We are accepting these, and as soon as you send them to us, we'll be able to sort of make your offer unconditional should you have met your offer. Okay, so if you are interested in deferring your course, you are able to do so from June onwards, and we will consider your deferral from June. Okay, so pass this information on to us, and we will do our best to help you during this difficult time. Another way that we have been a bit more flexible given the COVID pandemic is through introducing new English language tests. So instead of the IELTS, it's been ever more difficult to take this test at the moment, considering many different test centres are closed. We have introduced lots of different tests. So we've introduced the Duolingo English test, which you can do at home. We've also started accepting the IELTS indicator test and other things such as the TOEFL test as well. Our pre-sessional courses are still running. They won't be running face-to-face, but they will be running online. And we're trying to make sure that this experience mimics exactly what the face-to-face course would be like. There will be lots of social activities, there will be face-to-face teaching via a web platform, and we will also be making sure that you're getting enough teaching time as you would during the normal course. And you can find more information about this on our website, or do feel free to ask a question or send us an email if you would like further information. Okay, so I'd also just like to touch on briefly how the University of Bristol is contributing to the local, national and global coronavirus pandemic. It's something that we're really sort of proud of our contribution. Many of our final year medical students have sort of graduated early to join the national effort in the NHS. So there's over 200 students who have joined the NHS preemptively. We've been doing lots of sort of testing for the vaccines, and we will be sort of helping to develop this vaccine. We've also done a few more practical things to help the pandemic. So we've offered our accommodation up for NHS and key workers. We've been using our lab spaces to create hand sanitizer. So we've really thought about the ways that we can help our community. And we think we've done a great job of sort of bringing together our local and national efforts. Okay, so more information about this can be found on our website. So I'm just going to briefly introduce you to the university before passing over to Jacopo to talk about law specifically. So I'm sure many of you are already aware that the University of Bristol is a very highly ranked university. We're ranked globally within the top 50, and QS ranked as 49 in the 2020 rankings. So that's really highly ranked, and we're also following suit by being 9th ranked in the UK. Okay, so we're also a member of the Russell Group. For those of you who aren't aware what the Russell Group is, it's a group of 24 prestigious research-based universities in the UK. It's very similar to sort of those in America, such as the Ivy League universities, but it's the British way of sort of classifying our high prestigious universities. Okay, so we're also ranked 5th in the UK for research. So this is something we're very proud of. All of our academics and professors are top researchers in their fields. They're going about their research constantly. So at the moment, they're a bit sort of frustrated that they're sometimes not able to do all their research as normal. So Jacopo has also undertaken a lot of key research, which I'm sure he will talk to you about shortly. It's really exciting at Bristol because all of our academics are so highly esteemed within their fields of research. This research feeds directly into the curriculum, and you're often taught by professors who are experts in the field and have even written the books on what you're learning about within your course. So that's a really exciting way to learn. So we also are sort of highly esteemed in many other different areas. So our subjects are very highly ranked. So we have 35 subjects in the top 100, which is a great way of looking at all our subjects. No matter what you should choose to study coming to the University of Bristol, you will know that it's a very highly ranked subject, even though most of you are here to hear more about law. And then we're also ranked 9th in Europe for teaching. So this means that all of our teaching methods have been selected and sort of approved as very high quality. In research done by High Fliers, out of the top 100 UK employers, we were the 4th most sought after university for graduates in terms of employment. So this means that our global companies are really looking for what Bristol is offering from our graduates. So this is a great way for you to sort of rest assured that your education that you're receiving from Bristol University is world-class and highly renowned. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly establish a bit of the history of the University of Bristol. We're quite an old university. We were established in 1876, and we were also the first universities to admit men and women on an equal basis. I think this speaks quite highly about the sort of culture which is in Bristol as a city and as a university. We're a very liberal and forward-thinking university, and that really shows through our community. We're also very proud of our Nobel Prize winners. There are 13 which are associated with the University of Bristol. And we're a reasonably large university, so there are 20,000 undergraduates and 7,000 postgraduates, which for UK standards is quite a large campus. Then within those 27,000 students, we're home to people from many different countries, cultures, and those who speak many different languages. So it's a really diverse culture to be a part of. So I'm quite biased. I love living in the city of Bristol, but there are many other people who think the same way about this city. So it's been named many great things. It's been named the best place to live in the UK, the kindest city, and the best city for student life. So therefore, it's obviously a very favourable place for young people. There are many different reasons why this might be. It could be for sort of its liberal thinking, as I mentioned earlier. Bristol was visited recently by Greta Thunberg, who came to sort of take part in our climate activist strike a couple of months ago. That was very exciting, and everybody who took part in the climate strike was very pleased to see her there. We also have many different festivals. So every weekend during the summer, there is a different sort of festival going on. We're often nicknamed the Festival City, and I think there's a lot of great sort of reasons why you should come and visit Bristol during the summer. So there's the International Balloon Fiesta, the Harbourside Festival, and St. Paul's Carnival, which is a celebration of Jamaican culture. Okay, so we're also given the classification as European Green Capital in 2015. So going back to what I said about us being forward thinking, but also a very sustainable city. And that shows through our university's manifesto as well. So I'm briefly going to talk about the entry requirements for law. These are specific for law since this is a law webinar, but they are sort of generally the same for other courses, but you might need different subjects requirements as well. So if you have any specific questions about these, either ask Sarah through the chat function or pop me an email. So for some students if you're entering for undergraduate level, you might need to do a foundation program. This depends on which high school curriculum you have taken. So if you've done the A-levels or the IB, you're able to enter directly. And also if you've done some of the Anatolian high school diplomas, so the Lise Diplomatie, so the standard high school or the science high school, so the Fen Lisesi. I'm very sorry for my pronunciation. So if you haven't done one of these curriculums, then you might need to do a foundation program. There is more detailed information on your website, and often you're aware that you need to do one of our foundation programs as well. For those of you who are eligible to enter directly, I've written some of the entry requirements here. So you'd need 85% overall in your years 11 and 12. Like I said, we are being flexible with the arrangements for A-levels and IB. We are accepting those transcripts which are sent to us. And also many students are submitting their MEB transcripts as well. There's lots of information about the different levels of English which you can fulfill your requirements with. So with the different tests you can take in order to prove to us your English level. So there are a few details as well on that. We also do require the LMAT test. This is an aptitude test which can be taken on after submitting your UCAS application. Okay, for our postgraduate courses, we're normally looking for a GPA of about 75%. So that's normally 3 out of 4, but this does vary at different institutions. So you're best contacting us directly. Okay, so if you're applying for undergraduate, you'll apply through UCAS. It's a very simple application form, and we have a wide variety of agents in Turkey that work to help us with this. So you can always get in touch with those. They're called educational representatives, and they can be found on our website. So as I said, if you're applying for undergraduate law, you do need to take the LMAT test. If you're applying for postgraduate law, there are less strict deadlines. You can apply directly on our website. But the process is the same. You'll make your application, you'll receive your offer to study with us, and then once you receive your final transcripts, you can submit these to us, and we will confirm your place to study with us. You'll then need to pay your deposit if you're a postgraduate student, apply for your accommodation, and then you can receive your CAS number, which will help you to get your visa. Okay, so I'm going to hand over now to Jacopo, who's going to talk about all of the different areas about the Bristol Law School.
Okay, here I am. Welcome to this webinar. First of all, as I said, my name is Jacopo Martire. As you may tell from my name, I'm not British. I'm Italian, but I've been in the United Kingdom for a long time, and actually recently passed the citizenship test, so you can consider me a little bit British as well. And as you can see, we're going to discuss a little bit our law school, the facilities that we have, the learning options that we have, and I will be very pleased to take any questions you might have at the end of the presentation. Please feel free to ask anything you would like to know. As I said earlier, I teach both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. At undergraduate level, I teach jurisprudence and European Union law. Jurisprudence is basically the British way of saying philosophy of law. And at postgraduate level, I teach social and legal theory, which is one particular model in our LLM. So with regards to our undergraduate study, we have around an intake of around 400 students each year, and they come from many different backgrounds and many different nationalities. So we have a very diverse cohort of students. Normally, our students come to our university directly after their A-levels, but sometimes we have more mature students, so we have a composite body of students. You are going to be, of course, international students, and you will be together with many other international students, as we welcome students from all over the world, not only Europe, but Asia, Africa, and the Americas as well. What are you to expect from our teaching? Well, I'm not familiar with the way in which teaching is done in Turkey, but at the Bristol Law School, we value very much contact with our students. So you will have a lot of contact hours, and you will be taught in different ways and formats. You will have, of course, the classical lecture, where you sit in a large hall, sometimes very, very beautiful halls. Actually, not far from where I live, there is the Victoria Rooms, where I teach normally European Union law, which is a classical music venue, and it's very, very beautiful. And all these lectures are, of course, recorded, so you can listen back to them once they're finished. But most importantly, we really value hands-on work in more limited settings. So we have both seminars and tutorials. Tutorials normally happen at undergraduate level, and it is basically a small group work between 4 and 8 students with one tutor that will go through the topic of the day that you have already approached during the lecture and that you must have studied in order to have an intelligent conversation during the hour of tutorial. And you will be asked to perform tasks from reading cases, analyze statutes, to go over some doctrinal analysis. The other option is the seminars, and seminars are a little bit longer, are normally 1 hour, 30 minutes, and you will be required to be even more proactive. And normally seminars are for more advanced students. So we have them from the 2nd and 3rd year in undergraduate, and most of our postgraduate students studies are in the form of seminars, and these include a bigger cohort of students, around 15, 20, and normally in this context you will have to give presentations and you will take a more active role in conducting in leading basically the learning environment. We have not only this kind of passive ways of learning where you will, listen but also participate. But we also have the law clinic, which is a very, very interesting experience to have, especially for undergraduates. And it is basically a center where we deal with real cases on a pro bono basis. So as undergraduate students, you will get very early on an experience of what is to be a lawyer, and you will deal with real legal documents, real cases, real people, and actually you will make a difference in people's life because you will help them solve some problems they couldn't afford to solve by themselves. And you will be, of course, led in this by a professional, because we will not leave you by yourself in dealing with this complex, delicate, and challenging issues. The structure of our studies, the LLB is 3 years, unless you take other options, which is law and languages or law with study abroad, in which case it is 4 years, because you will have 1 year abroad. As you can see from the slide, the level of independence of study increases with the years. So in the first year, you will be taught some 6 mandatory units. These are the foundations of any lawyer's understanding of what law is about, any fundamental law skills. The more you progress in your studies, the more independent you will be in selecting the modules that interest you. So you basically have the possibility to tailor your learning experience on the basis of your preferences, of your interests, of how you want to focus on what is most important for you. One very important thing, I believe, is the final year research project, which is a proper research project that you will have to take as the final, basically, coursework of your university experience. And it's a great possibility of exploring in depth one particular field of law or one particular aspect of a specific field that you feel passionate about. And a lot of people do as a first step to their postgraduate study, or generally speaking, about their new career. So if you're interested in, for example, banking law, you will probably study a research project in banking, and so on and so forth. Can we just go back to the other slide so I can show them how many options we have? Yep, there it is. So as you can see, you have loads of different options that range from black letter law, such as company law or evidence, to things which are more socially and theoretically oriented, like law and race, sex, gender and the law, and so on and so forth. So there is really something for everyone, and this is part of the ethos of the University of Bristol. We want independent and driven students that will basically carve their path by their own hands and select the things that they're most passionate about. So you really have a lot of options here. At the postgraduate level, we have different options as well. We have normally the LLM, which is a one-year program which focuses on specific pathways, and we will see which one we have. But we also have the possibility of a MA in law. An MA in law is basically a conversion course in law, which takes 2 years, and it is like a postgraduate level accelerated course in law. So you will study in 2 years what basically you would normally study in 3 years, and you will get a postgraduate qualification with that. So it's a really, really great experience, and you will learn to think and to speak and to write like a lawyer in a much more academic and theoretically and systemic way than you would do with any other conversion course like GDL, for example. As I said, well, also in this case, you will have both lectures and seminars. And of course, the level of study is considerably higher to our LLB, because we accept only people who already have a degree, people who have demonstrated that they can achieve greatness in their academic studies. Our entry levels are very high, and you will take a lot of responsibility in your own studies with a lot of independent study. We also have research degrees, both in Doctor of Philosophy or the PhD program. And this is also another great opportunity because, as Jessica was saying, some of our colleagues, actually most of our colleagues, are at the top of their field. We have people who have written textbooks. We have people who have been nominated chair of UN committees. like Sir Malcolm Evans. We have Phil Serpis, our vice deputy head of school, who is a very important voice in the current Brexit debate. Recently, John Coggan, who teaches quite a lot in postgraduate, has been nominated as one of the fellow of the Nuffield Council on Bioethics. So it's really a great opportunity to be in thought and research together with some of the best legal minds that the UK has to offer. So as I was saying, we have different options. We have the MA in law, which is, as I said, 2 years. The LLM, which is normally 1 year or 12 months, similarly to the MSc in Socio-Legal Studies, the one where I teach in Social and Legal Studies, and the MRS Sustainable Future, which is a very advanced degree, which is taken collaboratively with other universities in the Southwest, and is one of our most important programs. The PhD as well is, I think, 3 years to 7. That depends on how fast you are in finishing it, and it is demanding. I mean, I've been through that as a senior lecturer, and it is a very interesting but also challenging time. But as we said, especially in the LLM, we have a lot of different options. So I don't know if we have a slide with all those options. Yeah, we have these are the pathways basically. And all the pathways give you the opportunity to specialize in certain areas. In order to receive a degree in a given pathway, you will have to take some specific modules. So depending on the modules that you'll study, you will get a LLM in specialized area like banking or European legal studies or health, law and society or law and globalization. One which is which we're very, very excited about because it builds on one of our strongest field is employment, work and equality. Recently, we've actually snatched a couple of snatched probably is not the nicest term, but they have come to us, people from Oxford and Cambridge, to join our colleagues on labor law, creating one of the strongest center for this field in the UK and actually in Europe. As Jessica was already saying, our student experience is fantastic. Students are incredibly satisfied with the level of teaching that they receive, and they go out for fantastic careers. We are really sought after by the big law firm in London, the so-called Magic and Silver Circus. And this just reflects the quality of our students and the quality of our teaching staff. As you can see at the bottom, we are 5th in the UK for research excellence. This is basically an exercise in assessment that is done every 5-6 years. The next one will begin in 2021. And basically, it values the quality of research that is done at any given university. And you can see that we're 5th in the UK, so we're basically the best of the best. This is reflected by the names that we have in our staff, and that I've mentioned earlier: Phil Surface, John Coggan, Malcolm Evans, John Conaghan, Paddy Ireland, and so on and so forth. It's a great city, Bristol, and actually, it's a great city for students, especially. I don't remember actually how many students we have in the whole of Bristol. Maybe Jess will remind me that, but you're a lot. And that means that basically you run the city. So the city is really tailor-made for student experience. There is a lot of bar, club, restaurant, which are very nice and affordable for students. And our university has a wealth of clubs you can belong to. So this is not only a great academic experience, but also a great life experience, because you will you can try out some of the passions that you have. And here we have a lot of more of the more serious law clubs. So, you know, of course, the Bar Society, the Environmental and Energy Law Society, the Medical Law Society, and so on and so forth. But there is also a lot for having fun. So basically any sport you can think about, we have a club that does that. And if you do not find a club you like, you can actually establish one, and you can pursue your extracurricular passion. These are, well, can you go back just one second? Okay, these are just these are not quotes that we're making up. This is not a cartoon that we just make up. These are actual quotes from our actual students. Every year we have feedback from our students, and we act upon that feedback. So if something is not right, students can tell us, and we will work with them in order to improve our delivery. But as you can see, students are very, very much happy about what is going on, and we have a wealth of opportunities, not only through our teaching, but also through our clubs and through our law clinic, as I mentioned earlier. We have great facilities. This is our main building, our main law school building. I mean, there is also the School of, I think, Earth Studies, but they are like in the basement, so we don't really think of them as inhabitants of that building. We think that we, the law school, we own that. And this is one of the finest example of neo-Gothic in Bristol. It's a fantastic building. It's incredibly beautiful inside. And this is where most of your lectures will take place. It's right in the middle of the city center. It's on Queen Street. And it is part of a series of buildings that are very, very close to each other that form our campus. Wills Memorial Building is one of the houses, one of the homes of the law school. The other one is 810 Berkeley Square, which is a newer development. Yeah, that's it. And there we have our law clinic and also our moot court room. Oh yes, this is something I didn't mention. Another thing you could participate in is actually mooting. Mooting is basically a mock trial where you will be able to deal with cases which have been selected for you by a panel of academics, and you will act as counselor against other students that will basically support the other side of the case. And this is, again, another great opportunity to develop your skills, to have fun, and also to travel, because most of these moot courts are international moot courts. So you will travel, if you reach the finals, to destinations like Luxembourg or Geneva or Vienna, depending whether you are discussing European Union law or arbitration or WTO law. Jess, are there any other slide? Yeah, these are others of our buildings. These are the Victoria rooms, which I was telling you about earlier. It's where I teach European Union law, and as you can see, it's a glorious Victorian building with a seating of 400 or 500 people, and it's just 5 minutes from the Wills Memorial. Prior complex. This is where I teach jurisprudence instead, and it's a newer complex. Again, state-of-the-art facilities. Every one of your lecture, as I said earlier, will be recorded and will be immediately available as a video podcast. So you will have available the voice of the lecturer together with the slides. So it will be just like having the same experience as a lecture. And it's great for, of course, revision. So we really take good care of our students. We have, first of all, a system of tutoring. At the beginning of your academic experience, you will be assigned to one personal tutor, which is one academic member of staff, which will basically guide you throughout your stay at university. So 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, depending on your course of study. And it will be your first point of contact. So everything you need, you can go and ask them. You will have regular meetings during every year. Normally it's between 2 and 4, but of course you can contact them anytime. We have surgery hours. So every academic has 2 hours a week where they will be in their office, and they will be available to answer any of your questions. And of course, we're all very, very happy to discuss with you anything also beyond those hours, previous email meetings. We really care as well about the emotional well-being of our students, and we have a very strong support team in that sense. So and this is very important, especially for international students, because sometimes there is a little bit of a cultural shock moving from your country to another country. And it's good to know that you have support if you're not feeling well or if you're unsatisfied in any kind of way. And we're there to help you in any way we can.
Guys, sorry to interrupt, but we have less than 10 minutes. So if you guys want to pick out the questions, that would be great.
Okay, I think we can just go to the questions. Oh yeah, I mean, we have great career support. As I already mentioned, we are very, very successful with our postgraduate. We organize work fair regularly, where you can meet with all the employers and get your name around, and also get a flavor of what's on the market. So should we just skip to questions maybe? What do you think, Jess?
It seems as though Jess has lost her connection. So I'm going to go through the questions if that's okay. So one of the questions we have here is about optional modules, and if there's a limit in the number of students that can take each class.
Normally, yes, there is a limit, but it is quite hard to reach that limit, because it's, I think, around 40 40, yes, depending on the modules. Of course, some modules are incredibly popular, like, for example, human rights. But because we're talking about optional modules, because normally those modules are given in the seminar forms, we try to keep numbers limited so as to give to the students the best learning experience possible.
Okay, and the next question is about the law clinic. So this student has heard that it's quite a competitive process to become part of the law clinic, and they want to know if there's any prerequisites for signing up and if first years can get involved.
Yes, no, there are no prerequisites really. And I think that you can be part of the law clinic from the second year onwards. It is a demanding activity. I mean, it's real work with real people, with a lot of cases, and it's gonna require a lot of work. So we wouldn't give it to the first year students, which are already a little bit overwhelmed by law, which is very challenging subject. As a matter of fact, we will help you as much as possible, but the amount of independent learning hours is quite high. It's around, we calculate 35 hours of independent study a week. So you want to do your extracurricular activity, you want to overdo it.
Then another one of the questions we've got here is about the subject to study at A level. So there's no specific subject requirements, as I understand, but are there any subjects that you'd recommend?
Absolutely not. Just study what you like, what you're good at, because what matters are your marks. We will take care of teaching you law, don't worry. So just show us that you are a student that is capable of learning well, of acquiring knowledge, that is committed to some hard work, and we will take care of the rest. Just study whatever you like at A level and do excel, because the competitiveness to get into Bristol is very high.
Great. And then another question about some of the extracurricular or career-related courses that we offer. So a student is asking, do we have an international law institute, or how often do we have international law events such as conferences or seminar on campus?
Well, we don't have an international law institute per se, but we do have a relentless schedule of seminars with international speakers of the highest caliber. Not only that, but basically every other week, people from the university will present on their research. And again, we're talking here about academics, which are at the top of their game, and so you will have a lot of chances of being in contact with people discussing their research, their current research that is probably changing the field as we speak.
There's another question here about finding a job after graduating as a non-permanent resident. So I'll initially answer that question. So at the moment, our government has proposed a post-study work visa, which would allow international students to stay in the UK and find work for 2 years following their degree. So that's a really positive development. And our career service can help you find jobs. So they can help you search for jobs, apply for jobs, and interview for jobs as well. And I'm sure Jacopo can talk a little bit more about gaining a graduate job in law, maybe.
Yes, as we already seen, the University of Bristol is basically a gateway to great job. It's a great identity card, basically, to get a job. Not only we have law fairs, but in reality, what we do have is an incredibly good network of alumni. it's kind of as a virtuous circle. We have great students graduating, getting into great positions, and they will remember that they stayed at Bristol. They know how good Bristol it is, and so they will be automatically very well inclined towards any kind of candidate which comes from Bristol. Just saying that you're a Bristol student is already a great advantage over other candidates. And we also have great career service that will help you polish your CV, finding different options, and in some cases also get some internship. This depends, of course, also on the country you come from. For example, a couple of years ago, we secured a set of internship for Thai students coming study for us. So we really do our best to help our students find a great and satisfying job.
So that's all of the questions that we've had. If you do have any other questions, please do feel free to get in contact with us. We'd be happy to answer those via email. The best way to contact us would be via our international office email, which is international-office@bristol.ac.uk. So if you've got any other questions, please do feel free to contact us. I can see that email address is on the screen for you now as well.
Also, just Google my name, and if you want to discuss more about anything law-related, I will be very, very pleased to have a conversation with you, either via Skype or just via email.
Thank you so much, Jacopo, Jessica, and Sarah. It was a really great webinar. If people have more questions, they can always get in touch with you on your personal emails. Thanks for participating.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye.